Reboots, sequels, and prequels. It seems like every time a new movie is announced, it's a reboot, sequel, or prequel. And every time we get inundated with the same tired takes. Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. Another sequel? Ugh. Can I get an original idea? Well, allow me to spice up this tired conversation with my own hot take. Firstly, I would like to address the criticism of Hollywood constantly going back to existing IP for new content. This criticism wouldn't bother me so much if every person on the internet stopped asking the same question. Why? Why are we getting another sequel? Why are we getting another reboot? No one asked for this. Literally no one. This bothers me because it seems like everyone who is complaining about existing IP forgot the basic lesson we learned in high school and middle school, which is supply and demand. It is a straight up lie that no one wants these movies, and I can shut down that baseless claim right now with some hard facts. Last year, in 2025, 4 out of the top 10 grossing movies were sequels. 5 out of those 10 were based on existing IP, and only 1 was an original movie. Those numbers don't sound like no one wants to see these movies. Sinners, one of the most popular original movies last year, made over $370 million. With those kind of numbers, you would think that if not in the top 10, it would get pretty darn close. No, it only placed 20 worldwide. Now, there are other factors that contribute to that, as it wasn't a family film, so that limits its audience, which limits the amount of box office it can make. So let's talk about another original family film that was made last year. Elio. Elio only grossed $154 million. So to the average person, $154 million is nothing to sneeze at. But what you have to understand is that Elio had a budget on the low side, estimated at $154 million. What this means is that for it to break even, it would need to make $300 million. That's because the studio does not get the entire box office. They have to split it with the theaters. It's safe to say that Elio was a box office bomb. And many people will say that's because Elio wasn't a good movie. That's why they didn't see it. Or I didn't even know it came out if there was no advertising for it. Well, Hollywood doesn't look at your excuses, it looks at the end result. And the end result is this movie bombed. Okay, let's compare it to an animated sequel, Zootopia 2. Zootopia 2 was number 2 in the box office worldwide last year. It made over $1 billion, almost $2 billion. They see that number and they think, oh, people obviously want to see sequels. And they're right. People are seeing these sequels. That's what everyone and the critics, not really the critics, but the fans don't understand. Hey, but don't worry, because some of these executives were listening when you said Elio wasn't a good movie, but you know what the takeaway was? You don't want culturally diverse movies. You don't want movies that have something to say of substance. No, you want slop. That's right. These executives are gonna start catering to the lowest common denominator. And if y'all have a problem with Marvel's dialogue now, just wait when you get brain-rotted animated films for your little gremlins. Okay, even I admit that was a little harsh. What I'm trying to say is that these studios are gonna stop taking chances and start playing it safe. And we've already seen that in action. Even with Elio, the final result that we got was not what was pitched, and it was not what they produced. One of the reasons why Elio's budget was so high of $150 million for an animated film was because they did extensive rewrites, because the original film talked about an experience of outcast, of being an outcast, of being othered. But even that was too risky for the big mouse. And now we are seeing it even further with something like their new movie, Hexed. Originally, Hexed was going to follow a boy and his mother. This would have been unique because usually we don't follow male protagonists. I'm not saying males are this minority that needs to be more heavily represented, but I am saying that the last male-centric Disney movie I saw, I think, was Onward, and that was, what, 2020? Also, this movie would have been very unique because it would have followed a mom and her son, which is a dynamic we don't often see in Disney's movies. No, but they decided to play it safe and do what works for them, which is a female protagonist and their female guardian. And people are already complaining about it, saying that this girl is gonna be quirky, and they're probably right, but also they only have themselves to blame. There's a reason why these studios rely on existing IP. It's easier to market something to the public that they're already familiar with, and most of the time they don't have to do heavy marketing because even if the fans hate what they're going to produce, they're going to be talking about it. So that's free publicity for them. And the original IP that we do get, I guess I'm specifically talking about family-friendly content right now. The original IP that we get are bland and they don't want to take risk or chances because historically when they have taken risk or chances and said something a little bit more edgy, it's bombed or it doesn't make as much money as when they play it safe, when they rely on what works. That's why when Disney had that horrible year, we got nothing but sequels. We got 1 million sequels, and all those sequels did amazingly well, right? It's the reason why we are never ever getting rid of these Disney live action remakes, because even though the internet clowned on Lilo and Stitch live action, it still made over $1 billion. So who's laughing now? Disney all the way to the bank. So until the random blockbuster based on original IP makes $2 billion, we are never going to stop with the reboots, sequels, and prequels. Because let's be real, you want original blockbusters, you don't want original movies. Because Hollywood produces original movies constantly, you just don't go see them. You don't go see them because they're not spoon-fed to you. You don't go see them because they don't have Marvel's budget. All that being said, I do want to be fair. I understand why people don't take chances on IP they're not familiar with, because it costs too much money to go to the movies nowadays. And you don't want to risk wasting your money and your time to take your family out to see a movie. So I understand that. And ultimately, I'm not blaming anyone. Do what you want. It's your money. You should. But I also don't think it's helping anyone to just keep complaining about the same thing and not adding anything new to the conversation, because obviously Hollywood is not listening. They are going to make these reboots until they make no more money.